Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to picture this an unforgettable, rain soaked Monday night in Queens. You've got a genuine playoff atmosphere in the air, and a matchup that, honestly, on paper, it looks like a total foregone conclusion. But instead, what we actually got was one of the absolute most shocking upsets of the season. The New York Mets literally put on a hitting clinic for the ages against the Atlanta Braves. But before we even get into the specific teams and the context of the night, there is one staggering number that basically tells the whole story. 19. 19 hits, producing a massive 14 runs, which, as you can imagine, sent absolute shockwaves through the baseball world. So, to really understand how on earth that happened, we're going to unpack the story behind those numbers. Setting the stage here, it was a classic David versus Goliath scenario. Heading into this series opener, the mismatch was, well, massive. On one side, you've got the Atlanta Braves coming into town. They were the absolute class of the National League East, sitting super comfortably as division leaders. And then on the other side, the New York Mets. They were having a pretty brutal season, holding a 45-62 record. In fact, they hadn't even won back-to-back games since way back on July 8th, so they were desperately searching for any kind of momentum. But despite all those struggles, the Mets did have one major glimmer of hope. 18. Rookie left-hander Zach Thornton took the mound carrying an incredible 18-inning scoreless streak into just his 5th career start. To put that into perspective, that was the longest streak like that by a Mets rookie since Steven Matz way back in 2016. I mean, the kid was absolutely dealing. Thornton's elite process was honestly undeniable. As interim manager Andy Green pointed out, he attacked the zone and he missed barrels. He was doing exactly what they needed him to do. But of course, the real question hovering over the stadium was whether the rookie could maintain that remarkable poise against a National League's second-best offense. And that brings us to the early battle, which was a very tense tug-of-war. Right out of the gate, we're talking about an absolute roller coaster. Ronald Acuña Jr. singled, and then an Ozzie Albies infield hit, unfortunately, ended Thornton's historic streak right at 18 2/3 innings. Braves go up 1-0. But the Mets answered immediately in the bottom of the first. A.J. Ewing singled, and then Francisco Lindor crushed this beautiful triple off the wall to tie it all up. Fast forward a bit to the third inning, Lindor launches a 2-run homer, handing the Mets a 3-1 lead. The Braves, though, they weren't done. In the fourth, Albies launched a massive 407-foot blast to tie the game right back up at 3-all. But you know what? Thornton miraculously showed ice in his veins, inducing an inning-ending double play just to stop the bleeding. Which leads us straight into the turning point of the game, a massive shift in the 6th inning. So the tension held steady through a very rainy 5th inning. But then, everything completely changed when Braves manager Brian Snitker turned to his bullpen and brought in reliever Connor Thomas. The moment Thomas stepped onto that mound, the floodgates literally and figuratively opened up. Things escalated incredibly fast here. Tyrone Taylor hits a single, and then a red-hot Marcus Semien absolutely crushes a 2-run homer. That was his 12th of the year, by the way. Just like that, boom, the Mets take a 5-3 lead. But here's the crazy part. That immediate punishing home run, it was merely the spark. It was literally just the beginning of what was about to happen. Because next came the offensive explosion, complete historic carnage. In the 7th inning, the Mets just relentlessly attacked. Francisco Alvarez walked, Jared Young singled, and then Tyrone Taylor launched a massive 3-run homer to left field, his 9th of the year. Suddenly, the Mets are sitting on an 8-3 lead. But they did not take their foot off the gas. Semien walked, Torrens hit a double, Lindor walked to load up the bases, and then Bo Bichette lifted a sacrifice fly. The Mets actually batted completely around the order for the 2nd straight inning, extending their lead to 9-3. Now, incredibly, the Braves actually left Connor Thomas in the game heading into the 8th inning. And the result? Well, he surrendered a staggering 11 runs. Let that sink in. That is the most runs allowed by any Major League Baseball reliever in over half a decade. The 8th inning was just relentless. Torrens draws a bases-loaded walk, Ewing hits a sacrifice fly, and then Francisco Lindor steps up to the plate and delivers the final fatal blow of the night. His 2nd home run of the game, a massive 3-run blast that made it his 8th of the season. This cemented the onslaught to such a degree that the Braves literally had to wave the white flag. They ended up bringing in their shortstop, Jorge Mateo, just to pitch the rest of the inning. Crazy, right? So, let's look at the final stats and the overall impact of this resounding victory. When you look at the final box score, this was just a complete top-to-bottom team effort. I mean, Francisco Lindor was absolutely unbelievable. He went 3 for 5, hit 2 home runs, a triple, and racked up 6 RBIs. A true superstar showing for sure. Tyrone Taylor and Marcus Semien both delivered 3 hits and some really huge home runs. And of course, we cannot forget about rookie Zach Thornton. He pitched 6 1/3 innings, giving up just 3 earned runs with 5 strikeouts. He actually earned a standing ovation in the pouring rain for his second career win, which is just an awesome moment. The final score settled at a resounding 14-3. This jaw-dropping victory against a first-place team gave the Mets a season-high-tying 19 hits and 4 home runs. More than anything, it proved that even right in the middle of what felt like a lost season, this Mets roster can still put on an absolute clinic, securing back-to-back victories for the first time in over a month. And that really leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. As the series continues next with Chris Sale taking the mound for the Braves against the Mets' Christian Scott, we have to ask ourselves, does this historic 19-hit explosion prove that baseball's underdogs are never truly out of the fight? Like, can one unstoppable night in Queens completely change a struggling team's momentum going forward? Well, we'll just have to watch the rest of the series to find out. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive into a truly incredible night of baseball.